of getting an advantage versus other investors with regard to companies, industries, and security, where hard work and skill will pay off, and these are the things you should spend your time.
How you look at risk and how investors, as you've pointed out a couple times here, commonly misjudge risk.
Well, number one, most people equate risk with low quality assets and safety with high quality assets. And they still do. I mentioned the Nifty 50. High quality, people thought, there's an old saying, you can't get hurt buying IBM. And we documented you lost 80 to 90% of your money. On the other hand, what about low quality? Is that a source of risk? When I got started in high yield bonds back in '78, I looked up in Moody's, what does it mean to be single B? And Moody's defined a single B bond as follows, quote, fails to possess the characteristics of a desirable investment. In other words, low quality asset can't be a good investment. Well, is there no price at which a low quality asset becomes a good investment? If we went out after this session to the parking lot and I said to you, I'd like to sell you my car, would you like to buy it? And let's say you like my car and you have money and you need a car. Hopefully there's one question you would ask me before saying yes, and that's what's the price? And here Moody's was saying that a B-rated bond is a bad investment. Well, what about at 75 cents on the dollar? What about at 50? What about at 25? Is there no price? And so this is the kind of herd error that you can take advantage of. So risk is not quality. And, most people believe that as something is rising in price, that means that people think better of it, it's less risky. Well, I think that when something rises in price, it becomes more risky. Most people believe that the things that everybody think are risky are risky. I think the things that everybody thinks are risky are safe because their aversion to it forces down the price to the point where it is safe and potentially lucrative. What is the riskiest thing in the world is the belief that there's no risk. Risk is perverse. That's the important thing that's what the chapter in the book talks about. It's the perversity of risk. And it's the belief, like in '07, the belief that there was no risk is what made the world risky. And in late '08, after Lehman Brothers melted down, the belief that there was no potential future is what created a great potential future.
Let's talk about one of your favorite chapters in the book, knowing what you don't know. Okay, overestimating what you're capable of knowing and doing the extremely dangerous things rather than working within your limits. Why don't we talk about that?
Well, look, I think, Mike, and I know you agree, that the investment world is a world of excess testosterone, where people believe that they have to prove.
Well, we have women play a much larger role now.
Well, they may have it too.
Okay, good.
But people believe that it's their job to know what the future holds, that you can know what the future holds, that they do know what the future, or if they don't know what the future holds, that they have to act like they do, because if they admit they don't, they'll get bounced. And I believe that you can't know what the future holds. You can figure out which outcomes are the most likely and how likely they are, and what alternative outcomes are likely to happen and how likely they are, and which extreme outcomes could happen. And you can kind of sort the world into a probability distribution. And I think the best people in the world are the people who are best at visualizing that distribution of possibilities. But there's almost nothing in the world which is determined. Everything is uncertain. And Elroy Dimson, who's a professor at the London Business School, says that risk means more things can happen than will happen. There are very few things of which only one thing can happen. And yet people tend to invest under the assumption that they know what's going to happen. And I think that this is one of the biggest mistakes you can make. Mark Twain said, it's not what you don't know that gets you killed. It's what you know for certain that just ain't true. And I think this is very, very important. There's nothing wrong with saying, I don't know, and acting accordingly. And most people never get killed in that way. The real danger is in saying, I know, and acting on the assumption that it's correct and then being wrong. If after this session, you and I are going to drive to Barstow, and
I could, but first I have to go to Africa.
Okay. Well, but if we say we don't know how to go, then we're going to get a map, use GPS, ask directions, and drive slowly to make sure we don't make a wrong turn. But if we assume we know, we don't get a map, and not just because we're men, and we don't ask directions, not just because we're men, we don't use the GPS, and we drive fast because we're confident. And if it turns out you didn't know, then you end up in Africa. So the point is, I think that it's very important to know what you don't know and to act accordingly and to respect what you don't know. And the point is, you don't have to know the future to be a good investor, and especially the macro future. Today, there's a great belief that macro rules the markets. And so you should figure out when the Fed is going to let interest rates rise and stop stimulating, what's going to happen in Europe in terms of its staying together and how it bails out the peripheral countries, and how low China's growth rate goes. That these things are the things that are going to move the market, and so that's where you should spend your time. Now, the interesting conundrum is that in the short run, they are the things that are going to move the market, but I believe you can't know them. And if you can't know them, then you're wasting your time trying to know them, and you should know the knowable. And the knowable consists of getting an advantage versus other investors with regard to companies, industries, and securities. And these are the things where hard work and skill will pay off, and these are the things you should spend your time on.
What if I told you even the best company in the world can be a bad investment? According to Howard Marks, most investors misunderstand what risk really is. We often think risk means buying low quality and weak businesses. But that's only half the story. Marx says risk is not just about quality. It's about the price you pay. A low quality asset will almost never become a great investment, no matter how cheap it looks. But here's the twist. Even a great company can become a risky investment if you pay too high a price for it. As prices rise, expectations rise. And when expectations get too high, the margin of safety disappears. And that's when risk increases, even though the business is still strong. So remember, a great company does not mean great investment. Price decides that.